our YoPro session. This is, you can sit or stand. This is Carla. She's from Big, and she works as a digital community manager. She was part of the inaugural class of fellows, so I feel that this is going to be a really cool experience for you all to hear from someone who's been in our shoes and who's off doing really awesome, cool things with a really awesome, cool company. So,
hey.
All right, well, I'm going to be moderating the session, but we'll open up at the end for questions if anyone has any. I guess the first one is, what is your current position that you hold in your industry? And can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I can tell you a lot about it. So my title is Digital Community Manager. I work for Big Communications, which, how many of you guys have heard of Big in town? Yeah, okay, like everyone, cool. So Big is an ad agency downtown, right next door to the Collins Bar, very conveniently located. We are a company of now 65 employees. We are we're kind of like an agency that does it all. Our biggest things are PR, media, creative, right? And our motto is that we actually talk to each other. We, all of our departments work together really collaboratively, and my position as a digital community manager actually falls under a department that's kind of come about within the past year alone, which is our content team. So we are working really hard. We are selling the idea of, like, you can't just be tweeting into the ether, right? Like, you need a team of people to make good content on social happen. And so that's kind of where my job falls. My position, I spend my days researching a lot. So I handle about 5 clients full time. I handle all their digital channels. For the most part, that's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also LinkedIn, occasionally Pinterest, playing around with Tumblr a little bit. It's not something that a lot of our clients use, but like I try to hop in there. Also Reddit is something I'm exploring a little more for one of our clients right now. But basically, yeah, it's my job to be on the internet all the time. Always on Facebook, always on Twitter. So a big part of my job is listening, researching, listening to see what the news is, following trends, keeping up with it, and making sure I'm able to capitalize on it when it happens. Also, I would say about 90% of my job is writing. I do a lot of writing, and I write everything from 140 character tweet to a long form blog post. So just different ways, and each client has their own needs, but the process works is that I write a calendar for a client that has all their posts for the next month. We work about 6 weeks in advance. All of our clients' posts are written out in advance, get their feedback, and from then I collaborate with all of our different departments to make that calendar come to life. So, I know that's like a lot. Basically, like, all you need to know is I'm on the internet all day.
What did you learn in college that was most helpful for your career, and how did your skills and connections get you to where you are today?
Okay, good question. Collaboration. Digital media does an amazing job of that, teaching that, but I could not do my job that I'm doing now by myself. Like, I need a team. I work really closely with our social analyst, and he does reporting. So I need to know, I might be writing this content, right? And I'm posting it, and to me it might be doing well, but I need to know like some hard numbers and some hard data to pass along to our client to show why our idea about a certain piece of content is working well. So he and I work really closely together. I also work really closely with our video department or our graphic designers, and trying to make what I see, the vision I see, translate to them too. And then I work, side by side with account executives who are the liaisons between the client and us. So that is the most important skill I got out of school, is that you cannot do a job alone. And you could try, but you're not gonna do it well. And you're gonna let a lot of people down, including yourself. Relying and working with team members is super crucial. But also another great thing that comes out of collaboration is like, don't be afraid to speak up for your ideas when you have really great ideas. And if you feel, I think there's a certain level of confidence that comes with that. And this is a great place to learn that kind of confidence, because your opinions matter and no one's gonna value them if you don't value them yourself. So that was one of my biggest takeaways in college, because I was the girl who wanted to intern everywhere all the time. Rosie and Anna know that. I wanted to work all the jobs and meet all the people. But what that was doing was more harm than good, because I can't be everything to everyone, and I had to specialize in a way. Yeah, does that kind of answer some questions? I can go on. I could talk about networking for a hot minute, but it might be.
So you mentioned that you work, a lot of collaboration with
Yeah.
a lot of different people in your team. Working a job that does a lot with social media is not something that everyone knows about. We're curious about what is the hierarchy of command within Big for the social media team? How's that organized?
Well, that's one thing that I really love about Big, is it's not like your management, I'm not in management, but like my management works alongside me more so than they do above me, which is really cool. Like, they're right there in the trenches with me. They're right there in our brainstorming sessions. So really the hierarchy is that, like, we're all on one team together. There is one content team. We actually recently, all 8 of us who were like loosely on the team, all moved into one office together, because like that's how important it is. And we're experimenting with different ways to assemble teams around clients. So rather than like, okay, you're a content person, you're a social person, we're definitely gonna put you on this project. It's not necessarily that, it's assessing the situation. So we know this situation needs a video person, a social person, and a designer or a production assistant. Like, it's pulling the key people in and out. But really for me, I report directly to our social strategist. She reports to our director of digital content, and then, but it's never in a way that's like, they're not working right alongside me. They're not helping me come up with ideas. They're not giving me the tools I need to get my job done. So, yeah.
Okay, so another question is, how do you balance your personal social media with all the social media accounts that you manage?
That's a tough one. I won't lie to you. I get sick of looking at my phone sometimes. I'm not the world's greatest texter because I'm on so many screens all day that I will receive a text and like acknowledge it in my mind, but actually like putting aside time to have that conversation with someone in my life gets really hard because I'm constantly plugged in. So it is really difficult, but for me, like, so I love Twitter, right? Like, Twitter is probably my favorite platform for personal use. Because when I was in school, that's how I built my network. Birmingham has a really strong Twitter community, and it was just, I'm a big civic advocate. So tweeting about Birmingham got me connected with some really cool people in the city. And now I have this whole community of awesome folks on there. And I think that's what keeps me coming back to it, is because I want to be part of that conversation still. Like, I still have an identity that's separate from my clients, from the brands I represent. And I will try my hardest to keep that identity. I'm not gonna be posting as much as I might have if I don't have this job, like I'm Instagramming every day for a lot of other people. I can't Instagram for myself every day too, but I think it makes me more cognizant about like creating a more meaningful presence online. Not just putting stuff out there to put stuff out there, but like in a way I'm also crafting my brand. And so there's a fine line between overthinking it, but also doing it because I still really love it.
How do you stay up to date on developments in your industry?
I'm always on the internet. Twitter's probably like, Twitter and Facebook are where I get my news from, no lie. And the Today Show in the mornings, but Twitter and Facebook. My Facebook is all brands. Like, I've unfollowed a lot of personal, like, your friends from high school that you don't really talk to, those random folks. Like, I don't need to be seeing their stuff all day, but what I do need to be seeing are stuff that brands are showing me because I need to learn from them. So that's where I get my content from on a daily basis. I'm browsing Twitter feeds anyway for clients. And so as I'm browsing, stuff will be pulled out. It'll stand out to me. And yeah, and it's really, we have a great, do you guys use Slack here? Yeah. So like we have a whole Slack channel for not just our content team, but like there's other people in the agency who also just really want to be a part of the content process, even though they're not directly on our team. So we do a great job of sharing articles, inspirations, and things like that within our Slack channel, and creating meaningful discussions out of them after the fact within our spaces. So you're not just sharing for the sake of sharing, you know? So I think it's a lot. It's my surroundings that really help me get all the information. But I learn how to do my job by paying attention to what the bigger publishers are doing. Yeah.
How do you keep yourself from getting overwhelmed when you're managing many different accounts that have different voices, different strategies?
Yeah. It's difficult. It's a constant process to keep that perspective in mind that like, you're always online. Like with this type of job, I am always online. I have a client that is a major events-based organization, and they have events Saturday mornings that can go awry, and all 75,000 of their Facebook followers will be sending me messages telling me all the issues they've had with the event. So, I mean, it's my responsibility to be online Saturday at 7 a.m. when this is all happening, you know? But I think it's also, what helps is educating not only the client, but my peers who might not necessarily do exactly what I do in the agency, what my job actually is. A lot of people look at, oh, you just like post on Twitter all day. Oh, you just post on Facebook all day. Anyone can do that. Like, no, this is actually a time-consuming process that requires some investment and some research and a lot of strategy. So a lot of that comes from like educating so that expectations are, like people know what to expect out of me. You know, they know like, oh yeah, you could do this in just like an hour, right? Like it's no big deal. Like that would lead to being really overwhelmed, but teaching people that that this is a craft and that it does take time and thought just like any other craft. Is a really, that's something that we work on daily at the office, you know? So, yeah, it's just, you know, sometimes you need a little break for yourself. Like, I don't want to look at Twitter when I go, like, that's why for me, like, when I go home, I live alone, I'm like, I just want to Netflix and, like, chill with myself right now, get some Chinese food, and not look at my phone for just, like, a couple hours, because I know I have done everything I need to do. I have scheduled what I need to schedule. I know there's not going to be a crisis I need to be looking out for happening on social. So like being prepared helps give me that peace of mind. So it takes a lot of work on the front end to chill on the back end.
You talked a lot about the expectations that people have for you. How do you respond to client criticism?
Oh, with a lot of angry emojis in Slack. No, it's, I try, so we're in a really interesting place in the world right now with workforce development, in that there's a lot of us coming through and entering this industry or similar industries who have, this is so native to us, right? Like we were essentially raised knowing how to do this. It's digital is so intuitive to us. The disconnect happens with a lot of my clients are older, like not just in their 40s, but like 40s, 50s, 60s, and they don't. It's not that they don't see the value. They genuinely don't. It's hard for them to understand the concepts. So it takes patience. You know, like when you have to teach your parents how to use something like on their phone or like how to text or how to use a computer, like that's how it is kind of. Like you have to teach them and break it down for them like X, Y, and Z. Like, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and this is why it's gonna be valuable. But I could talk about that all day, but what really helps prove my point is when we have statistical evidence that like what we are doing is helping your brand. So that's why reporting is so important. Like, it's so important to have those numbers and to know what the numbers mean, and what significance they play in, for your client. And it's not the same KPIs for every client. Some clients, like, all they want are website clicks. Like, they don't care what you're doing on social as long as it's leading back to their website. Other clients, they're like, oh no, like, we want to be the most popular page on Facebook. And they only think about Facebook, not realizing that there's other opportunities to reach their audiences. So it's just trying to almost play devil's advocate for yourself in a weird way, like being like, and it's frustration is not something you can avoid, you know. But I have a great manager who is right there to like be like, let it out, get it out of your system, and now let's like go back to this and see what we could do to help. Because there's no point in complaining about for complaint's sake, you know, like it has to be a complaint that's then focused on finding a solution. Yeah.
What's the most common mistake people entering your field make, and how can they avoid it?
Common mistake, not doing their research, as in like you like consume all the information there is out there about your craft, you know, like find the influencers in your industry. For me, like I really love Gary Vaynerchuk. He's, have you guys heard of him? Anyone? Okay, check him out. Gary V is like his little tag, but he was kind of one of the first major influencers in the sphere of digital content. He started as a wine blogger, and he turned it into this huge like empire. Now he's a consultant for social, but he's written a lot of really great books. So for me, I was like, I love what he does. Like, I need to learn from him. What better way to learn from him than to read what he's putting out there? So a lot of reading, like research it, know what and there's so much that you won't know about until you actually start doing it. So many phrases, so many terms and things like that you'll just have to eventually pick up on just by being around it. But you should have a strong understanding of the concepts. Like, and the only way to learn that is by seeing how other people are doing it. So just like consume all the information you can, like throw yourself into this, and like, you know, don't just follow your friends on Snapchat, follow the brands that you love on Snapchat. Like, how are they doing this stuff, and how, like, learn from that. How can you do it better? I think that's just the biggest thing. Like, people go into it being like, oh, I can tweet, I can write a, you know, like I can run a Twitter account, I can write a Facebook post, but it's not that at all. Like, just because you Instagram for yourself does not mean you can Instagram for a brand. Like, there is so much planning and preparation that goes into every post that we do. There's intention behind it. And I think that's what people forget. And again, that comes back to like educating just people within the industry itself, that because this is so new, it's scary for people that like this is a thing that you need, that your brand now needs. So, but yeah, if you're able, you got to talk the talk and walk the walk. But a lot of it comes from just, I'm a big fan of the phrase fake it till you make it, but I don't mean like lie. I mean like walk into it with some confidence. If you know the concepts, but you don't know those fine little words, it's fine. You'll pick up on it, you know. I had a running list right when I started at Big of words I was unsure of what they meant, but didn't want to ask someone. But I kept that list, and I would go and Google it. Google is your friend. People don't realize that. Like, just Google it. Not that hard. Will definitely help you out. Yeah. I could go on about that.
So, you know, talking about the whole confidence thing and talking the talk and walking the walk.
Yeah.
Have you encountered any kind of age bias with other veterans in your field, or other people who are a lot older than you and have more experience?
Oh, totally. Well, I guess one of the perks of working in like social, being a social person, is that no one's really been doing it for a long time. So I will one day be that person looking down upon the youth. But we joke about it in the office all the time about, millennials, that word. But I have one client in particular, and they're older, like they're in their 50s and 60s, and they think they know, the web that they know is a different web than what I know. I don't call it the web, first of all. When I first started working with this client, I was brought in, and it's a client that's like really like, they like what they know, and change kind of freaks them out. And so when my boss was kind of passing the torch from her to me to work with this client, there was definitely hesitation on their end. Like, who is she? Like, how can I trust her? Like, she's just some fresh out of college kid. Like, what does she know about this? But it came with now I'm like 10 months into this job, and I'm finally at a place with this client where they trust me. Like, I have built that trust, but it took a lot of work to educate them that like, oh, millennials aren't so scary. Like, we come to the table with good ideas. But I think it's more like, it's not ageism. Like, no one's like hating on me because I'm young. I think it's just kind of like takes them aback for a minute to realize like, oh, the industry is getting younger and I'm getting older. But like, the ones that are the best at it are the ones that are willing to adapt. I did a whole presentation on Snapchat, like my 3rd month in at Big, and it's because so many people weren't on it, and they just thought like it's a way to send selfies to your friends, and I was like, no, you guys, like this is a storytelling tool, and I did it, and it was so impactful. Like, everyone in the company got on Snapchat, and trying it out and wanting to learn and wanting to talk to me about this really cool tool, or like, oh, did you know you could do this on Snapchat? I'm like, yeah, I did, but like, I'm so happy you discovered that on your own. So it's like subsiding their fears and being like, I'm not trying to like take over your job or take over your world. Like, I'm just like, I'm that younger side of it that's coming in to help show you how the industry's changing. Because when you're moved on up, like, you're too busy, like, to try to keep up with every new thing that's ever come out ever, So it takes a lot of education and trust building.
Awesome. Well, that about wraps up my pre-made questions. So I'm going to open up the last 10 minutes, the last 15 minutes. If any of you guys have questions, feel free.
Please ask me questions. I love talking. Yeah.
You said something earlier about networking. How do you go about like the process of networking, especially in Birmingham?
Yeah. Well, it's I think you just like don't be afraid to reach out to people. I think a lot of times like for me it was like I didn't know. Like, there wasn't an internship posted for the internships that I got, but it was like me finding a company. For a while there was a nonprofit, so like finding the nonprofit I liked and reaching out to the person who had a position that I admired in that company or who I'd obviously want to work with, and ask to take them out for a cup of coffee. Like, you buy their cup of coffee. Like, just be like, I want to get to know you, what you do, how you got to where you are. Don't make it a business thing, like, at all. Like, that comes later. But, like, don't network just to hand out business cards. Like, network to get to know people and build those relationships. You can't just, if you go into it, like, if you ask someone for coffee and then you're like, okay, so are you, like, going to give me an internship? Like, I really want an internship with you. I really want a job with you. Don't do that. That's so bad. That's so bad. But like, plant the seed in their head, like, that you are a young, motivated person, especially if you want to stay in Birmingham. Birmingham loves youth wanting to stay in Birmingham. We need more of that. Truthfully, we need our young professionals to stay in the city and help keep building our city. And there are a load of kind of like older professionals who are more than happy to like reach out, like, or like to work with you and just meet you and get to know you and connect with you. I think, yeah, just don't, and like for me in college, like my LinkedIn bio said, let me take you out for a cup of coffee and get to know you. Like put it out there, put it in your Twitter bio. Like if that's what you want, don't be afraid to do it. And don't be afraid to like join conversations online either. Don't be intimidated by it. For me, it was Twitter. It could be Facebook for you. It could be Tumblr. It could be Reddit, like join those conversations and put yourself out there, because at the end of the day, like when you ask to get to know someone, the worst thing that they could say is no and okay. Like, so they said no, move on, Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And just don't be afraid and make it more of a relationship thing rather than a business thing. Yeah, Raizel.
You didn't just jump into your job big. Can you tell us how you got from graduation day to where you are now?
Yeah. So I have like a fun story about that. So coming out of this program, being a media fellow, I always felt like the girl who was, and some of you might relate to this, like jack of all trades, master of none, right? Like I knew, and Anna and Rosie had to have many a talk with me that like I actually, it was always hard for me to see how I could market myself to work in a creative environment when I wasn't necessarily a designer, a videographer, a developer, an animator. Like that wasn't me, right? But I love working in creative and collaborative environments, so it was really hard to sell myself. And Anna and Rosie both let me know, like, oh, I have soft skills that are really, really valuable and really important as a producer, as a manager. Like there's ways I can play a role in this world. And so as I was wrapping up school, I had an internship with Rev Birmingham that I turned into a opportunity for a contracted position for a semester, which was great because getting paid is really fun. Getting paid to do what you enjoy doing is really fun. And one thing that I loved was events. And I was like, okay, maybe I could do events, but also event planning like paired with a social, like promoting it, right? Like ways to promote events online. So right after school, I started independent contracting with a few organizations doing that. But then I got the opportunity to work with a startup, like brand spanking new startup. Like we were gonna build this business together. And we were a creative house of sorts. There was just 4 of us, 2 designers and 2 more PR comm people. And I really, really wanted to go into the startup world because I still wasn't sure how I wanted to specialize. And I knew in a smaller setting like that, I could find my niche in this way. Like I could figure out what side of this world I really love. Do I love managing client relations? Do I love writing? Do I like the event side? Do I like traditional PR, which is a huge element, or do I like digital content side? So the startup, I mean, I saw the full life cycle of business from starting it to literally closing our doors, us all deciding collectively to close the doors. But coming out of it, looking for a job, I was like, okay, well, I know I don't want to work in nonprofit anymore. I know I don't want to go corporate. I really want to find an agency position because that's what I felt most drawn to about our little startup collaboration bubble. And so much of what digital media is like a small agency. And so, yeah, so then that's what I was like casting my net out to do was agency. And it was still kind of difficult knowing like what side of the agency I wanted to go into, but Big reached out to me and was like, no, we know exactly what you're good at and like can help bring you in to help build this content team. And I've been there since and it's been awesome. We're really growing. We've had, I was hire number like 46 and now we're at 65 and it hasn't been a year. So, but a lot of it is because of content. Most of it is because of content. Like our needs have gone way up because this is a thing that is happening and we need all hands on deck. Startup world is awesome and working in it was really quite the experience and I have zero regrets about pursuing that path. It's not for everyone, but it's definitely worth trying out. Especially if you're interested in kind of like, for me, what was so appealing was I love the idea of working for yourself or doing something for yourself, but like it's a lot of pressure to have at 24, 22, whenever I was that I started. So, but being able to see what it's like to actually run your own business was really, really interesting.
You were saying that like not being able to say I'm a videographer, I'm a designer, having those titles was really tough. I'm running into the same problem.
Yeah.
How do you look for a job when you don't know what that agency is going to call what you do with like not having a uniform job title to look for?
Yeah.
How do you look for that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I've learned anything, it's like job titles are silly anyway. Like really they are, because there's not a job title that's going to sum up exactly what you can do in any position, you know, maybe in the corporate world, but even then, like job titles aren't going to say who you are and what you do. So I say don't pursue a title. And I wish I had like been more aware of that, you know, like don't pursue a title. Just put yourself out there, send your resume in. Everyone has a contact address. Send your resume in, send a portfolio in. I really think that's what set me apart too, was like, I wasn't just, here's a sheet of paper with my resume. I had an online portfolio of all the work I had done. Send that in, because more than likely, with us, we look at everyone's stuff that comes in. And more than likely, like they're gonna see your stuff and you're gonna stand out to them. They might not have an agency might not have a position for you, but if you stand out to them, if your skills are standing out, they're gonna keep that in mind and find a way to pull you in. So yeah, don't chase don't chase the title at all. Like it's because yeah, digital community manager totally sounds like that's all I'm doing is like managing large communities on social, which is technically I guess what I do, but like I do a lot more in addition to that. I write native ads, I write blogs, I concept strategies. Like that's so much more than just a day-to-day posting job. So send your stuff in. Definitely have a portfolio too. Like I think a lot of people, for me, I was coming from like a communication side of it, not the art side. Like art students are totally, like they have it's a physical thing that they can bring in and show their work. It's a little harder to show your work in this position. Like what's your major? What are your? English? Yeah. But like you got some solid writing skills, right? Or like maybe you've helped work on a website here. Like put that website on your portfolio and like say what you did and or find unique ways to like let yourself stand out a little bit. Maybe it's blogging, maybe it's not blogging, maybe it is an Instagram that's made to read like a book, you know, like there's really unique ways you can make yourself stand out. So yeah, it's totally intimidating and will drive you into an existential crisis. Trust me, I've been in a few of them because of that. But like just going back to like the confidence thing, like you know you have skills, like sell yourself. Like say my background's in English, but I want to work as a copywriter at an ad agency, and this is why I could be a good copywriter. Here's proof, you know? I hope that helps. Good.
We're gonna take one last question. This is hard. Your choice.
Do two.
Can we take both of them?
Okay. Let's try.
So you mentioned for clients that you have a calendar set up 6 weeks in advance and then they sign off on it.
Yeah.
But how do you capitalize on trends or something that just happened that you have to put out like right then?
Yeah, trust. Trust. And not all of our clients are going to give it to us, unfortunately. There's so many cooler stuff that we wish we could do with some clients, but they haven't fully adapted to that like model of being like, you know, like the whole, everyone references this, but it's a great one to reference, the Oreo Super Bowl thing. You know, you could still dunk in the dark. Fantastic moment, you know, but like you can't do that without trust. Like knowing if a brand is working with an agency, they need that trust, knowing that the agency can do that and it's going to be good and it's going to represent their work well. But also just still being like, yeah, I'll send a calendar in 6 weeks in advance, but I'm not 100% beholden to that calendar. Things will change, events change, you know, news changes. with one client, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, it's wasting our time to write all this stuff out. Here's what I know. So like, here's the concepts that I know we're definitely going to touch on this next month. And they sign off on the concepts because they trust us knowing that like my words are going to be fine. You know, they're not anything to micromanage. So yeah, it's tough. It's totally tough. But we're always, as soon as we know about a trend or if something's happening, we're like in super mode to try and like be like, okay, let's do something really, really quick. And we're getting better at it. But I think a lot of people still, especially for us, we're not just a social agency. So it's hard to make everyone drop what they're doing and focus on getting a really cool piece of content out for this trend. But we're changing, so that could totally, one day we could be like that. But yeah, just always being mindful of that stuff and sending those opportunities to your clients is great.
Thanks.
No problem.
With social media and original content, there's always an element of risk of putting it out there. How do you judge, like bringing it up to a client or something? How do you judge risking your original idea and putting it out there? Is it also a trust thing? Or?
Yeah, I mean, clients are gonna say no. You just have to know that. And sometimes you could have an idea that you love, like you totally love, and you were so invested in, and the client's gonna be like, nah, I'm not feeling this. And you're like, okay. So there's like two situations. You can be like, let's come at this from a different angle, try and adapt to see why the client doesn't like it and how maybe you could mold your idea to fit what they like. Or you just gotta like let it go and save the idea, and maybe you could reuse it for someone else. But I think if you believe in something strongly enough, there's a way you could sell it. There's a way that you can make other people believe in it too. And also having a great team behind you to back you up. It's not something you do alone. And yeah, and just know, trust is such a boring word, and I've said it a million times, but like that is so foundational and stuff like this, especially when you're having to be timely and quick as possible. So, hope that answers it. Love it.
There are no more questions. Carla, thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys. This was so much fun. Thanks. Well, cool. You guys, like, feel free to follow me online and, like, creep on me and holler at me. I will be your internet friend. So, and shoot me an email, too. You have my email. Feel free to pass it around if you ever have any questions. I really want to help you out.